Good evening. We want to welcome you guys to our first virtual college event that we've had at Manual High School. We'll get started in about 5 minutes. We'll have an opportunity to answer some questions towards the end of the presentation. So if you wouldn't care to, please fill out the Google form, which is attached to the QR code that you see on your screen right now. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please post them there, and we will ask all of those questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you for joining us, and we'll get started shortly. All right, we'd like to welcome everyone tonight to our virtual CollegeCon event. It is live, so we will have a presentation here just to kind of get us kick started on navigating college admissions for manual high school juniors. So we'll go ahead and get started with that presentation. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please use the Google form, which is attached to the QR code on your screen. This will allow you to ask the questions and we will answer those at the end of the presentation. So again, thank you for joining us, and we'll go ahead and get started with our Navigating College Admissions for Manual Juniors presentation at this time.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to Navigating College Admissions. This is especially important for the class of 2022. Some of the communication outlets that we're going to use is, of course, everything is posted on our website. This presentation and all of the session presentations will be posted on our website. Also, we tweet information out through our Twitter account, DMHS Guidance. And then we also post on our counseling office grade level Google Classrooms. Make sure you're looking for that next year, because that's where we'll post for the college visits, for the college reps. This presentation is about the college planning steps. So we have a few steps that we're going to go over, and then I'll go over a few slides with each step. So the first step to college admissions is definitely looking at your transcript, because this will be sent to colleges and universities. You want to make sure your courses and your grades are all correct. Second, you're going to do your college search. You're going to look at your requirements. You're going to look at their application process for each school, the testing that needs to be done, and of course the financial aid and scholarship requirements. Third step is starting the application. You're going to look at the college's website to see what virtual platform they use for submitting applications. Example, Common Application is very common. Over 900 colleges and universities in the U.S. use the Common Application. SendEU, Coalition, or the particular school might have their own admissions platform. Fourth step is the recommendations. You want to get a teacher recommendation, and of course your counselor will write a recommendation. Teacher recommendations, there is a teacher form, and we'll talk about that later. And there's also, for the counselors, there is a student questionnaire that will be available that you complete for your counselor. 5, it's actually writing your college essays, and that's something that you definitely want to start working on this summer. In a minute, I'll talk to you about the Common Application essays that's already released, and you can go ahead and get started on writing those essays. College planning step number 6, you definitely want to then request your transcript and test scores after you've already applied to your schools. You're going to request your transcript and test scores sent through parchment, and you'll get instructions at a later date. It'll be through your JCPS student email. You'll set up a parchment account, and then you can at any time send your transcript and test scores to any school, college, or university. Step 7 is having your application stand out. We're going to give you some tips of having your application stand out. Step 8 is definitely searching for that financial aid and the scholarships. Again, we'll talk a little bit about the FAFSA, and then of course you definitely want to look at our weekly scholarship and opportunities newsletter, and that is found on our website. Step 1 in the college planning process is transcript review. This is a very important part of your application. You can see your transcript in the student portal. Make sure you're looking for courses that are accurate from the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, the grade that was given, and the credit. Make sure you have all your required courses for graduation. If you haven't fulfilled all your graduation requirements, make sure you place any requirements on your senior year schedule. If you have any questions about your transcript or any corrections that need to be made, please email your counselor. Your graduation requirements for class of 2022. You need 4 credits of English, so you're going to take English every year. You only need 3 credits of math. However, JCPS does require all seniors to take a senior level math course and successfully complete that by the end of your senior year. You only need 3 credits of science. You need biology, chemistry, and physics, 3 credits of social studies, world history, U.S. history, and 1 other in the following: geography, economics, government, or African American history. You need 1 credit in health and PE. That's a half a credit of health, a half a credit of PE. You also need to show appreciation for the visual and performing arts before you leave. There are several ways you can fulfill this credit. You can take a humanities course your senior year. You can take Spanish humanities, AP art history, 3 visual art classes, or 3 YPAS classes. If you would like to take online humanities, please email your counselor. Electives, you need at least 7 electives. Of course, you're going to have many more elective credits because we're on AB block schedule, but these electives could include your magnet courses, world language, any other elective courses that you've taken the last couple of years. Now, I gave you the graduation requirements for the state of Kentucky. This is for you to stay in state and go to a Kentucky college or university. If you're thinking about going out of state, make sure you look at that particular school's graduation requirements. They'll tell you what is recommended for high school for that particular college and university. An example, Alabama. Alabama requires 4 credits of social studies. So if you were going to apply to a school in Alabama, you would want to have the 4 credits of social studies. Some states require 4 credits of science or a particular school. Again, you would want to make sure you have that 4th science course on your transcript. And some schools, like IU, require at least pre-calculus on your transcript. So again, make sure you're looking at your college and university to see what their high school requirements for that particular school.
Step 2 is the college search, finding the best fit for you. The importance of the college fit. You want to ask yourself some questions. What are your academic interests? Do they have your major, minor? Are they going to allow you to double major? How do you learn best? Do they have small class sizes, large class sizes? What activities outside of class matter most to you? What kind of clubs and organizations do the colleges have? How important is prestige to you? Does name matter? Do you want a diverse campus? What kind of social and cultural environment would you like best? Where do you want to live for the next 4 years? Remember, you'll be living on this campus, the next 4 years, and maybe even stay if you have a co-op or an internship. The college search. Conduct your search with an open mind. Start investigating college websites. Visit colleges' campuses if you can. If not, take the virtual tours. They have them on campus. They have college fairs, virtual college fairs. Read the information colleges send you. Admissions is not a trophy or a prize. It's looking for a good fit. Avoid the rankings found in magazines and guides. A lot of times this can be very misleading. It is not the college you attend, but what you do once you get there that counts. Colleges require a good deal of independent initiative and personal responsibility in order to be successful. It should be you applying to the college, not your parents. Remember, when you're talking to admissions reps, you need to do the talking. Wish list, items that you want to consider. Are you looking for a college and university that has an honors college, an honors dorm, honor classes? Do you want to travel or study abroad? Do you want to look for some scholarships that are renewable, that maybe fit your GPA and test scores? Do you want to do research at the freshman level? Do you want to have study communities where you're housed by your major and area of interest? Do you want that rock star effect? Do you want to be the top student on a public school campus or just one of the top students on an Ivy or competitive campus? Freshman level courses taught by full professors, or do you want graduate assistants? Some of the wish list items. Some great websites. These are some resources to do some research. This is collegedata.com. This is a great website where you can look at the freshman class, the entering freshman class, to see what kind of GPA they were looking at, what kind of courses were they looking for, what was their admissions rates, what kind of financial aid do you receive, what kind of clubs and organizations do they have. So this is a great tool. Also, college fairs. Remember, we will always announce if we have any college fairs coming up on our grade level Google Classrooms. But some virtual college fairs just this year was NACAC. Go to collegefairs.com. College Fair Guide. So here's some more resources for virtual college fairs.
Step 3 is the college application. You want to look at the college and university's website to see which virtual platform they use for their admissions process. The most common is the Common Application. It's used with over 900 colleges and universities. A lot of manual students will use the Common Application. It's one application and it can be sent to several of their schools. There's also a Coalition application, SendEDU, ApplyWeb, and some schools like MIT and Georgetown have their own school-specific application. Again, check the school's website to see which platform they use for admissions. How many applications should you submit? You want to do at least 2 safety schools. A lot of times these are in-state. There's flexible admission standards. You opt in because it's a financial safety. You're going to probably receive a scholarship. Maybe you could use your KEYS money. So a candidate becomes a safety when profiles of that school indicate little chance of you being rejected. Probable colleges, we recommend 2 to 4. These are kind of like your mid-tier schools. You have a reasonable sure you can gain admission. A candidate is reasonable if you fit within the general admission criteria, but be warned, meeting all the admission criteria for these schools on paper is no guarantee. There are intangibles such as the profile and other less obvious factors, even where you live can even work against you. Reach schools, these are your top choices, but ones that you're less likely to be accepted. They're competitive, they have limited places for the freshmen. These are your reach schools. It's your ideal if you can get in. A lot of times our students will use their reach college for their early application. Example of University of Kentucky's application platforms. A lot of schools use two different applications. You get to choose which one you want to use. This is an example of UK's. They use the Coalition and the Common App. So of course, if you were applying to other schools using the Common App, you would use the Common App for UK because you only have one application that can be sent to all the different schools. The Common application can be found on commonapp.org. They also have a nice study guide that you can follow. You can go ahead and set up your username and password now for your Common App. The Common App, you can fill out your application. You can place your profile, your family history, your education, tests that you've taken, your activities. Writing is, of course, the college essay. Again, in a minute, I'll show you the writing portion. Those Common App essay prompts have already been released for the next school year. Then you can have your dashboard. You can add your colleges to the Common App. So you can see I've added Bellarmine, Centre College, Cornell, Emory, Miami University of Ohio. And then for each school, you will fill out some questions. And then, of course, you can recommend teachers to complete, a recommendation for Centre or Bellarmine. You can pick and choose. Also, some of these questions could be additional supplemental essays. Here's an example. Once you click on Bellarmine, Bellarmine's on my dashboard, you can see that my application's in progress. I'm still progressing through the questions. My recommenders still haven't submitted yet. So you can kind of watch on the dashboard to see when these items are done. Also, if there's a Common App personal essay that needs to be done, it's just optional for Bellarmine. So I wouldn't actually have to fill out the Common App essay. They do have a college question. Again, that's an optional question for them. This is what the Common application looks like. At the beginning of August, we will send out a tutorial on how to use the Common application. Remember, the actual application will not go live for you until after August 1st. Suggested date for college application submissions. Yes, applications usually go live on August 1st. We would really recommend you apply to all your schools by November 1. Unless the college application is earlier. You want to make sure if the scholarship application is separate or is it with the admissions process. Check the scholarship deadlines. We recommend November 1 because December is a lot of times deadlines. An example, UK and U of L have a December 1 and a December 15th deadline for their scholarships. Also, some schools have a separate application for honors colleges. So again, we strongly recommend you apply to all your schools, even though you're going to just do a regular decision by November 1. That way you have all of your admissions paperwork, documentation done, and you can go on and do scholarship application or the honors college applications after that November 1 deadline. But be aware, this is only a suggested deadline. Check each specific school for their deadlines for admissions and scholarships. These are all the different application plans for college admissions. So you have regular decision. All the schools have a regular decision, and usually it's in January or December. But again, we want you to apply by November 1st because even though it's a regular decision school, remember we're usually out for a winter break in December, so it gives you plenty of time that you meet that regular decision deadline. Rolling admission is mainly your public universities. A lot of times rolling admission means they'll take your application all the way up until the first day of classes. But again, you want to apply early even though it's rolling admissions, because many manual students can receive scholarships if they apply early. Early action, this is, hey, you want to apply to your REACH school early. It's non-binding. You just want to know if you're in. A lot of times if you apply early action, you'll know by December 15th if you've been admitted or not. And if you haven't been, then maybe you can pursue other schools. Or maybe you've been admitted and then you want to close down all your other applications and just commit to that school. It's just an early action plan, just so you'll know early if you're in. Restrictive applications are your early decision. This, if you decide to go early decision to a school, this is a binding agreement. So if you are admitted to that school, you are committed to attend. Restrictive early action, this is when a student applies to an institution and they restrict your application to other schools. So a lot of times restrictive early action just means that yes, you can apply to that school and maybe some public schools. They just don't want you to apply to other private or mid-tier schools. Again, look at the college's website to see which application plan best fits for that school.
Step 4 is the recommendations. A lot of times for admissions and or scholarships, you'll need a teacher and or a counselor recommendation. The recommendations include information about your character, about your civic and cultural awareness, about your commitment inside and outside of the classroom. It talks about your intellectual independence, your enthusiasm for learning, your creativity, your artistic talent, your concern for others, your community involvement, your motivation, your determination, persistence, your leadership potential. These are a few things that the recommendations will do. It'll talk about your story. The counselor recommendation process. The first step is to make sure you're a member of the class of 2022 Counseling Google Classroom. Here is the code. Most of you are already a member on the class of 2022 Counseling Google Classroom. If you're not, there is the code. We want you to complete a senior questionnaire. This questionnaire will be available on the Google Classroom starting May 1st. We want you to submit it to the Google Classroom by August 15th, because gives us plenty of time, your counselor, to write your letter and get it in before the application deadlines. The senior questionnaire that we've made are questions that prompt some responses that we know colleges are looking for in a recommendation. We also want you to complete a red folder Google form. In the past, we actually had a red folder that our students used. Now we make a virtual Google form where you'll list your colleges. We want you to do this after August 1st. That'll be available. This will just notify your counselor about your college choices and the deadlines that need to be met. These are the application and questionnaire deadlines. So the first deadline for some colleges is September 1st. So that's the application deadline. So we want you to make sure we have your questionnaire in that Google form by August 15th. So we can make sure we hit that September 1 deadline. Just like October 1st is a deadline for a lot of colleges. Make sure we have everything submitted by September 15th. Again, we really strongly recommend everyone get all of their applications in by that November 1 deadline. So please make sure your counselor has that Google form and your questionnaire by October 15th. Teacher recommendation process. Most applications only request one teacher. Be sure to check each school's requirements to see how many teacher recommendations that they require. You want to ask your teachers early, even by the end of this year. At least ask them if they'd be willing to write a recommendation on your behalf. We really want you to try to ask them by September 1st at least of your senior year, because a lot of times our teachers have a max about how many recommendations they write. So we want to make sure you get to them early. Make a college admissions email for each teacher. Include last name, first name. Put senior college application materials. You want to attach the teacher questionnaire. You want to include the list of schools and the deadlines for them. Again, you want to give the teachers at least a 15-day notice from the date the recommendation must be submitted. Almost everything is done online now. Just make sure your Get all your application materials, your recommendation in early to make sure you meet these deadlines. You will see, again, the teacher questionnaire on that Google Classroom, along with the senior questionnaire. Step 5 is the college essays. You'll have some application essays. You might have a separate essay for the scholarships. Sometimes you might be able to use the same essay for both, but make sure you check. College essay writing tips. Be honest. Write something on a small scale. Let your voice be heard. Is there something strange about your record that you need to explain? You might want to do that in an essay. You should write about something that is important to you. Don't try to guess about what topic you think they want to read. Think of something original, humorous. Take a risk. Discuss maybe a unique talent that you have. How would you describe the strengths and weaknesses of the topic, your point of view? Regard the essay question itself. Some more tips. Make sure you write something that's unique, has a unique insight to it, or interesting about a particular topic. Something that will enlighten someone that relates to the chosen topic of the essay. Use language that you're familiar with. Don't try to borrow someone else's phrases. The essay is all about your character and your personality, not just bragging about your list of accomplishments. You're already going to list that somewhere else in the application. Answer the question when you choose a topic. Follow the directions and the length and the format. Most readers look for essays that are persuasive and somewhat argumentative. Remember, this is where your personality's got to come out in your college essay. Do not, again, list your accomplishments or activities because you're already going to have part of your application that highlights that. This should be something different from the other aspects of your college application. How do you write a college application essay? The typical questions that most colleges have are the you question, the why us, and the creative question. So the you question is always the classic interview question. Tell me about yourself. So many colleges use this essay. This type of essay gives you a chance to introduce yourself to the college. Here's a tip. Don't use this prompt to tell everything about yourself, though. Again, you want to write small, scale. The why us question. Every college asks about the why us question, especially if it's a supplemental. A lot of colleges will ask for the common application, but they'll also maybe ask for a supplemental. And most of the times it's why us. Why are you choosing that specific school? These essays are tailored to that one college. So be creative. Do your research. Find out why you fit in that particular school. Be creative. The creative question. Demonstrate your knowledge, your education, your creativity. Don't risk being obscure when trying to be creative. Ground your essay. Use common sense here. Any expert shares how students can get inspiration for their application essay in an unusual way. This is what you want to do. You want to do it, you want to stand out. You want to be unusual. Ask your friends and families what memories and stories they have about you. 7 tips for crafting your best college essay. Although many consider starting their essay to be the hardest part, it is. But brainstorm first your strengths. Take notes, sketch an outline. Develop a 3-part essay, your introduction, your body paragraphs, and the conclusion. Take a specific angle. Be honest. Show the first draft to family, friends, and teachers for your feedback. Fix the errors. Have someone else proofread your essay as well. And make sure if you're writing an essay for a particular school, you don't send that same essay with the college listed in the essay. These are the common app essay prompts for 21-22. So what you're going to do when you get on the Common App, you can see these. and you have 650 words that you can use. So you'll choose one of these 7 to write about for your Common App essay. They ask about your background, your identity. Maybe that's the one you want to write about. Maybe you want to talk about number 2, a challenge or a setback. Number 3, maybe you want to reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or an idea. 4, what are you happy or thankful for? 5, discuss an accomplishment, an event where you had a personal growth. 6, describe a topic, an idea, or a concept. 7, share your essay on any topic of your choice. This is a popular one. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. Be creative with this. Step 6, the transcript and test scores. So now you've applied to your colleges, your recommendations are in progress. Now you're going to ask for your transcript and test scores to be sent. And you're going to do this through your Parchment account. So this is a simple way that you'll request and send your transcripts. Parchment.com is the website we use. So what we'll do is we'll send you a registration code through your JCPS student email account this summer. And you will go through your JCPS student email to the Parchment website and make a profile, make a new username and password. Through the Parchment account, you can send a high school profile. You can ask that your colleges see your transcript and test scores. It's all in one place. You can add different destinations. You can have it sent to the Common application. You can have it sent to yourself. You can even have it sent to some scholarship places. There is no fee for JCPS students to send transcripts to their college or university through Parchment. This is a great tool that also allows you to track your order. You can see when it was sent from manual and when your actual college downloaded the transcript and test scores. It's all in one place. The transcript on the Parchment shows all the courses listed. It'll show, your 4 years of math, science, English, social studies, whatever you've taken. It'll show your unweighted and weighted GPA. And yes, we place both on your transcript because each school looks at GPA differently. Some look at weighted GPA just for scholarships and then unweighted for admissions or vice versa. So again, we place both of those on the transcript. Remember, weighted GPA is through because of your AP courses that you've taken or your dual credit courses. Colleges look closely to the junior year, and they'll also look at your schedule for the first semester of the senior year. That is listed on the Parchment transcript. So the Parchment transcript will have all the courses that you've taken on the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade year. They'll see the senior year schedule, because they want to see to make sure you're still taking rigorous courses in the senior year. On your Parchment account, they also list your ACT scores. So if you've coded your high school, they'll see all your ACT scores that you have taken, and that will be listed on your Parchment transcript. So again, that one Parchment transcript has all of your courses, your GPA, your test scores, and your senior year schedule. Most colleges will just take the Parchment transcript for admissions and later on ask for official scores. However, make sure you look at your college's website to make sure they do not need official scores. If they need official scores, you will have to have them sent directly from College Board if it's the SAT, and then the ACT official site for your ACT scores. So make sure you look at that to see if they require those official transcripts. There is a fee if you have to send official scores. Remember, your Parchment transcript is free and it lists your ACT scores. It will not list your PSAT scores or SAT scores. Is the college you like test optional? Many colleges now are test optional. You can find a list on fairtest.org. This is a website It's a National Center for Fair and Open Testing. It'll list all the colleges and universities that do not use the SAT or ACT scores for admitting students. Again, you want to see if your college and university accepts that. You can look at fairtest.org. They'll also have it listed on their college websites to see if they take a test score or not. And remember, most schools will take either SAT or ACT. Now, due to COVID-19, a lot of schools changed their requirements and this year is going test optional. Example, U of L was a test optional. However, if you applied for scholarships, they did want to see a test score. Or if you didn't have a test score, they required an additional essay. So look at the changes due to COVID-19 for each particular college or university. Step 7 is just finalizing that application. At the very end, when you've got your application, your recommendations in progress, and your transcript, to finalize that application, make sure you look to make it stand out. So some things that you can do, remember, these are the criteria for college admissions. They're looking for academic rigor. They're looking at a special skill you offer. They're looking at your GPA. What kind of grades did you have at school? What kind of college prep courses did you take? They're maybe looking at test scores. Remember, class rank, JCPS does not rank students, so that is not listed anywhere on our application documents. They're looking at quality of your senior year. They're looking at your essay and your writing samples, your honors and your awards or special talents, your counselor recommendation, your teacher recommendations. Interviews. You can ask for an interview. If a school doesn't offer an interview, you can always ask to be interviewed. A lot of times they'll send out maybe an alumni or someone in the area to interview you at a local coffee shop, and they'll take their notes and send it back to the admissions office. So that's always something that you can do. Leadership, they want to make sure you're showing an impact in the community, either in your school or in our local surrounding community. And leadership doesn't always necessarily mean the captain or the president of something or secretary. It just means that you saw a need somewhere and you actually did something about it and showed an impact in someone's life due to something that you saw a need. So again, that's a leadership, that's showing impact. Community service, again, Manual doesn't have a community service requirement. However, most of our students have done community service. And again, shown impact. You're not just collecting community service hours for the Key Club. You're actually making a difference. They're looking for that. Also, work or extracurricular activities. If you've done any like part-time jobs or internships or any kind of summer enrichment programs, make sure you list those in your application. Other college admissions criteria. Again, they'll look to see for legacy or alumni connections. They'll look to see if you're a first generation to go to college. They'll look at economical disadvantaged students, underrepresented students. They want diversity on their campus. If you've overcome a personal hardship. So all kinds of things. Your strong personal statement. They also look at geographic considerations, in-state, out-of-state. Do they only have a few from Kentucky? Maybe they need so many from this area. So again, this is going to make a well-rounded student. This is also looking at their criteria and see if you meet their needs for their campus. Some details on admissions, you can look to see maybe how many are from Kentucky on the campus. That's iPad's website, College Raptor. It pulls schools' admitted students' profiles. Common Data Set, that gives you ED numbers for schools, the early decision admit rates. College Kickstart will do the same thing. It'll let you know how many were admitted for early decision. Remember, you always want to maybe apply to one school early. A lot of the out-of-state schools, giving you an example, Vanderbilt University last year accepted 50% of their freshman class from the early pool. Okay, so they were early action students. Now, again, that was their committed athletes, but it was also just from the entire, represented the entire freshman class. So it's something to think about. And we're seeing that more and more where colleges out of state, those competitive schools, they're gaining a majority of their freshman class from that early pool because it shows that you're really interested in that particular school. The last step, step 8, is the financial aid and scholarships. So once you've been admitted to the school, in the spring, you'll receive what's called an award letter. So during that time, you'll look at all your award letters and make your decision, maybe based on financial aid or the scholarships you receive. You usually have until May 1st to let the colleges know you're going to attend. There's 2 types of financial aid. There's a merit-based aid and a need-based aid. Merit-based, of course, is going to be on your academic merit. So do you have a certain GPA or a test score? Amount of aid increases with the higher score you have. Again, that is with the particular college and university. They set their own criteria for granting that merit-based aid. Then you have what's called a need-based aid. This is just based on your family's contribution. You know, what can they contribute to your education? And this is done with your FAFSA form. This form is a free application for federal student aid. So this is with the federal government, state and federal government. This application window opens October 1st of your senior year. So this October 1st, you will have the chance to then fill out this free application for federal aid based on your family's income. And then the schools will get that information. You list 10 schools and they will receive your information from FAFSA and they'll award you based on, you know, your income, for your family's income. And that's a need-based aid for you. Again, we will actually have someone from Kia who will come out and talk you through the FAFSA application. We always do that right before that October 1st deadline. So we'll do that in the fall, in about September. We'll have a workshop and someone can walk you through this application process for state and federal government aid. Net price calculator. Every college and university are required to place a net price calculator on their website. It is law for them to do this. Net price is the difference between the sticker price, because they all have a full cost to attend a specific college, minus any grants and scholarships for which you may be eligible. So this is called the net price calculator. And every school has to have it on your website. So you can kind of even see if that's a school that you can even fit into your financial range. So again, College Board has their own net price calculator for each school, or you can go to the college's website and look at their net price calculator. This will give you an idea of what it will cost each year to attend. AP credit at the university. So again, this is something you want to think about at the university. Yes, you're going to get financial aid and scholarships, but maybe you can complete that bachelor's degree in 3 years, because that certain university is going to give you so much AP credit for the classes that you've taken at manual. So again, make sure you look at each college and university you're thinking about attending and look at their AP credit policy. This website is through the College Board. It'll take you exactly step by step. You can research any college and they'll bring up their AP credit policy for that particular school and tell you exactly, okay, I took AP calculus and they're going to give me this credit. I took AP English language and they're going to give me this credit. It can really add up. A lot of times manual students will start at a lot of these state and public institutions as sophomores because they have so much AP credit. You also want to look at their general core. This is an example of U of L's cardinal core. They're just general requirements that all freshmen have to meet. So if you've taken an example, this is a U of L's cardinal core. Every freshman has to take 6 credit hours of written communication. So at Manual, you might have taken AP English Language, which is English 101 credit. Then you're going to take 102 your senior year. You're done with your English credit for college. Again, maybe you're going to come down here. Quantitative reasoning is math. Maybe you took AP Calculus AB, you passed the AP test, and U of L will reward you with 3 credit hours for math. So you're done with that credit. So see how you can add up through your AP classes that you've taken at Manual. Right here, Social and Behavioral Sciences. If you've taken AP US History and you pass that test at the end of this year with a 3, 4, or 5, U of L will give you 6 credit hours for that one AP class. So again, look at the colleges and look at their general core requirements. Have you met some of them? Maybe that's a requirement you want to look at. You want to see if that college and university will give you so much credit for the AP classes that you've worked so hard. Some more resources. Here's a link that you can go to a Fair Opportunity Project. This is with some college students wrote this guide on the college admission process, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful college admissions and financial guide for all students. You can find that. That's free at that website. KIA, the Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority, they also make what's called a College Circuit magazine, and this is again a complete guide to all the different colleges and financial aid opportunities. So these are some great resources for you.
This was a lot of information that we went over today. So again, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to your counselor. For next year, remember all the YPAS seniors, you'll have Mr. Fowler, Kevin Fowler. Seniors with the last name A through G, you will have Miss Johnston. Seniors with the last name H through O, you will have Miss Leslie next year. And then seniors with the last name P through Z, you will have Dr. Jessica Benson. Please, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us at any time.
All right, we want to thank you for watching our presentation tonight. And we have one question. The question is, will my application be disregarded if my grades and maybe my test scores aren't as great, but I have some really strong extracurricular and other aspects of my application? So are they going to disregard me before they even get into everything about me if my initial test scores and GPA and things like that are low?
And this is Miss Johnston, and that's definitely not going to be an issue. If you explain, again, I said earlier in the essays, you might want to explain something that's happened. I've had lots of students do this. So you want to explain that either in the essay, or if you don't want to write about something like that in your essay, in applications, they have what's called a writing question where you can actually write in. If there was an issue, you just want to explain that. You just want to explain what happened during the academic year. And yes, most colleges are going to look at your application holistically. So they're going to look at all of those clubs and activities, the community service. So again, definitely submit to the colleges that you're interested in and just see, and again, ask for the interview if you want, or ask to talk to the admissions rep for that particular school, because you can always explain away some academic situations that you've had throughout the 4 years.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are so excited that you came and hung out with us for the past hour to learn about navigating the college process from the manual high school standpoint. Of course, please keep checking your Google Classroom. Make sure you have joined the class of 2022 classroom in order to get all the most up-to-date information and resources that we have available coming from the manual department. So we are going to take a about 10-minute-ish break as we transition into our next presenter this evening. So we'll have about a 10-minute break. With the live, it will continue to be live, but we will take a little bit of a pause and then we will join back and have our presenter here with us for our second session this evening. I'll post this question and answer document up on the screen so you can go ahead and start asking questions if you have any. If you post questions later on, we will be able to answer those later as well and get those out in the Google Classroom. So don't hesitate if things pop up later to ask those questions regarding this session, and we'll get that taken care of. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys for hanging out with us this evening. For those of you that are just joining us, or those of you that are hanging out, our second session of diversity and inclusion on college campuses will be starting here briefly. We have Dr. DJ Mitchell here to join us to kind of give us a perspective about that diversity and inclusion on college campuses. He is the equity chief of diversity, equity, and inclusion at Bellarmine University. So he is here local and has that perspective, but he will be giving us some amazing information regarding kind of an overview of that perspective. So just hang on just a minute and we'll get started with this second session. All right, thanks again for joining us this evening for the second session of our College Con. We will get started here in just a minute. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can use the QR code that you see on your screen right now, or within the description of the YouTube stream, there is the link to the question document as well. So it's in both locations, as well as your Google Classroom, where we posted the link for this event. So there's lots of places you can gain access to the Q&A document. Please make sure if you have any questions to go ahead and put those on there. If we don't get to the question or your question this evening, we will definitely make sure that it gets answered and posted either directly to you or on our fax or Q&A sheet at the conclusion of this session. All right, we will go ahead and get started. We are so excited to have Dr. Mitchell here with us this evening. He will be sharing some very important information for you and providing you with some amazing resources. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the stage over to Dr. Mitchell.
Thanks so much. Can everyone hear me? All right, see some thumbs up. So thank you so much for the invitation today. Again, I'm DJ Mitchell and I serve as Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Bellarmine University and also Professor of Education. And today I'll be talking about diversity and inclusion on college campuses. I hope this presentation can be as engaging as possible. My slides are brief, but I do leave a lot of time for any follow-up questions that students might have during the presentation. So let's try to make this engaging. I know you had a session before, but let's knock it out the park as we close the second section today. So some questions I hope to answer today. So these are our objectives. How far have we come with diversity and inclusion when we think about college campuses? And what does this mean? What do I do? And when I say I'm talking about you. So what do you do with this information? And then I'll just give you examples on how Bellarmine does it. So that's what I hope to accomplish during our time together today. So I want you to take a moment and think about, what did the college student look like in 1636? How did a college student look in 1636? And counselors, feel free to jump in or respond, but I'm just going to give people a few minutes to think about that. And what's the significance of 1636? Why did I pick that random year? So 1636 was when Harvard University was founded. So it's the first US higher education institution. And I want you to think about how those students looked in 1636 at Harvard. So this was the college student in 1636. They were white, they were male, they studied religion primarily, but they also dabbled into classics, so Greek and Latin. They were very wealthy, and believe it or not, they didn't go to college to get degrees. They were just going to college to become what they would say better men. So this is the college student in 1636 at Harvard University, when it was the only institution across the US. So now let's transition to 2021. What does the college student look like in 2021? So I'll give you time to reflect. And as you can imagine, college students in 2021 look much different than the college student in 1636. So we have students of all races and ethnicities attending college, all genders, so within the gender spectrum and beyond the gender spectrum, all income levels, some whose parents attended college and others whose parents didn't attend college. They're not just studying religion anymore. Some students still study religion, but the majors are really diverse. So the college student looks very different than the college student in 1636. So I wanted to highlight that transformation on who could access college in 1636 and then who can access college now in 2021. We still have some barriers to remove for some who try to access college, but college is more accessible these days than in 1636. And in 1636, women couldn't attend college. Those who didn't identify as white couldn't attend college. Those who were lower income or middle income couldn't attend college. So think about that transformation and that shift. So this is how college campuses look now. So even though we're more diverse on college campuses, things are still slow to change. So we still wear those funny robes when we graduate. We still have professors that lecture in the front of the class um, in auditorium style. We still take tests and exams, even though we know students learn in different ways. So even though we've increased the diversity on college campuses, um, some of our traditions are slow to change. And I highlight why this is problematic for some student populations when they step on the college campuses. First, I'll start with college students of color. Um, and I don't want to make any generalizations, but these are themes from what we know in research. So I received my doctorate in higher education, so I study college students. I study how universities operate. So I actually went to school for my doctorate to work on the college campus and try to make college campuses better. So these are themes that we see. Again, I don't want to make any generalizations because some people fall outside of these themes, but we do see these consistent themes for these college populations. So I'm starting with college students of color. Sometimes they say that the atmosphere can be hostile on um, campuses. Some students of color say when they choose an institution, they're one of only a few in the classroom. Some talk about racial stereotypes that some of their peers and faculty and staff might have about them. Some talk about how uh, the curriculum is limited and it isn't inclusive of their culture. And some talk about prejudice and discrimination on their college campuses. When we think about lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer college students, and I'll use the acronym LGBTQ, um, there's some language barriers around pronouns and what students would like to be called. There's barriers when disclosing sexual orientation. Some people don't want to disclose their sexual orientation, but sometimes people are forced to disclose to their parents for different reasons. These students experience homophobia, and then you'll hear a lot of conversations um, that are around gender binaries. So he and she, even though some students might not identify with those binaries. With first generation college students, they often are navigating the unknown since their parents or guardians or friends or family didn't attend college. Sometimes they just don't know certain things. So language can be murky on college campuses for first generation college students. When we use acronyms like FAFSA, if you will, and syllabi and summa cum laude and cum laude, which are honor distinctions. Sometimes you just don't know just because um, your family members or your guardians might not have attended college. So those are some things that first generation college students struggle with. With low income college students, financial aid is key. So how are we making college affordable? Low income college students oftentimes have to work to uh, be retained in college. Living on campus could be a barrier because costs are associated with living on campus. So sometimes college students, if they want to go away to college, can't afford to live on campus. And then low-income college students often become less involved because they have to work more or they can't live on campus. And we know that much of the engagement on a residential campus happens on campus. And finally, I would like to highlight college students with disabilities. So in K-12, you don't have to self-report some of your accommodation needs, but as you transition to higher education, you have to self-report some of those accommodation needs. So college students with disabilities struggle with that sometimes, um, struggle with academic and co-curricular engagement because when people design courses or they design co-curricular activities, they oftentimes don't design those with college students with disabilities at the center. So that could be a struggle. Physical space could be a struggle when you're talking about physical people who are differently abled, and then just attitudes from peers, faculty, and staff on campus. Those are some struggles that college students with disabilities um, face. And then I just like to say, um, I'm highlighting some identities that we often talk about, but there are other identities to include, including religious minority students, homeless students in college, commuter and part-time students, veteran students, adult learners, international students, and the list goes on. So even though I'm highlighting these identities, just know that there's other identities and these students may struggle sometime as well, because again, we're becoming more diverse, but we're still using that German education model, the model that was established in 1636. And then it's also critical to acknowledge identity intersections. So I'm talking about these identities in singular ways, but we know that some college students identify as a student of color and low income and first generation. So while I highlight these identities in singular ways, let's recognize those intersections and how that might um, produce barriers for some college students. So here I want to take a pause and a temperature check to see if we have any questions or comments or thoughts. Could one of the counselors jump in and let me know?
Yes, we're running about we run about a 20-second delay. So
Okay.
uh, live events are fun. So we're just kind of waiting. If anyone has any questions, please make sure you fill out the form that's linked in the description, and we will ask those questions for you. We are actually live and interacting, so this isn't
Awesome.
just pre-recorded. So just students, make sure you are asking questions if you have any or any comments or concerns.
Well, thank you for that commercial break. And hearing no questions right now, let's continue. So my recommendation to you, when we think about those different populations and their intersections, is to really seek out resources. So as you're thinking about colleges and universities and campuses you want to explore, I want you to seek out resources that align with your identities that are important to you. Oftentimes, we make decisions based on um, how much money a college might offer us, the location of the college. But I also want you to center diversity and inclusion as you make those decisions, because as I talked about, those things that these different students struggle with, it could be your path and it might not. But when you seek out resources for um, those identities, it can make the college experience that much better. So I'll start with college students of color. So oftentimes universities, so colleges and universities have um, what they might call an Office of Multicultural Affairs. And so this office often offers support for college students of color. on campuses. There's often student groups. So for example, Black student unions, multicultural student unions, multicultural Greek letter organizations. So when you get to college, really be engaged. We know from the literature that college students that are engaged during their experience are retained and they graduate and they have a really good experience. Student groups that are aligned with your identity are a good way to get engaged. And then finally, oftentimes you'll see mentorship groups for students of color. So Office of Multicultural Affairs, student groups, and mentorship groups are critical. One thing I haven't added here is reaching out to faculty who might identify the way you identify. That's also really critical because we know faculty relationships are critical for engagement and persistence. So that's another resource that you'll tap into. So that's college students of color. I'll transition to low income college students. So I'm sure you have heard about the FAFSA, so the free application for federal student aid. So it's really important to fill this out if you need financial assistance for college. Um, at the federal level, Pell Grants are awarded based on um, expected family contributions. So that's a way that we improve access for low income college students. And then finally, just university specific scholarships um, that might be need based. So make sure that you stay in contact with your school counselors, stay in contact with your admissions counselors as you're applying to institutions, and don't be afraid to ask, what are some ways that you can help me fund my college education? Third, with LGBTQ college students, there's often LGBTQ resource centers similar to offices of multicultural affairs. You'll see LGBTQ resource centers on campuses, and then also student groups, like I've mentioned for students of color. For first generation college students, you'll see those student groups again, and then you'll also find mentorship groups because sometimes you'll run into faculty and staff who are also first generation college students, and they want you to succeed. So many institutions form these mentorship groups. They'll pair you with an alum of the institution, they'll pair you with a faculty member from the institution, or they'll pair you with a staff member from the institution who might have also been first generation, but they persisted and they graduated. So those relationships are so critical. And then finally, with college students with disabilities, um, most institutions have offices of disability services that help students with accommodations. So again, oftentimes those accommodations have to be self-reported. So you would work with this office to work through accommodations, and they will help you contact faculty and staff to help you navigate the college campus. And you'll also see student groups that celebrate students who are differently abled once you get on college campuses. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So at the bottom, you'll see that there's much more. And I want you to do your research. Don't sell yourself short. As you're thinking about a college that will meet your needs, I want you to think about diversity and inclusion and how welcoming the college is going to be based on those resources that they offer for these different identity groups. So now I'm going to close with just offering some more concrete examples on what we do at Bellarmine University. So when we think about college students of color, I talked about offices of multicultural affairs. So we have the Dr. Patricia Carver Office of Identity and Inclusion. So this office promotes diversity and encourages community members to challenge their own personal narratives. So this office, what we call OII, is really instrumental for our college students of color at Bellarmine. And the director, the assistant director, their team is just fantastic. And when you hear college students of color reflect on their experience at Bellarmine, many of them talk about how OII offered support, OII offered resources, OII offered refuge, safety, security. They really talk about OII, which is our Office of Multicultural Affairs. We offer a Knights of Color mentorship program. So this is a free year-long mentorship program designed for students of color, again, to help foster community, resilience, and offer strategies for success. So during this program, if you self-identify as a student of color, you get on campus early. So get on campus a few days earlier than all of the first year students. You create a bond with some of those other students who are participating in this program. We've designed it as again, a year-long mentorship program. The mentors are actually your peers, and you get a faculty or staff mentor. They do study sessions, and it's really an incredible program. Early indicators have shown us that this is a really successful program because students in the program are retained at higher rates and have higher GPAs thus far. So we're excited about where this program is going. I mentioned student groups. So here I highlight our Black Student Union, our Bellarmine Latinx and Hispanic Union. These two groups, the Black Student Union is longstanding, and the Bellarmine Latinx and Hispanic Union is a fairly new student group. But again, they are student groups that support our Black students and their perspectives and support our Latinx and Hispanic students. And I'll make sure to share these slides because they have links where you could go in and learn more about these organizations. Even if you're not interested in Bellarmine, just learning about these organizations through Bellarmine, you can know what to look for at other college campuses. And I talked about the curriculum that is oftentimes Eurocentric. We just launched our African and African American Diaspora Studies minor a couple years ago. So this minor is about the African diaspora, and we're excited about having this minor, and hopefully it'll become a major one day on campus. And then another important thing we have is our bias incident and reporting system. Of course, we want all of our students to feel welcome. Um, we want all of our students to be welcome, but sometimes across college campuses, incidents do occur. So we have this reporting structure where you can learn about what bias is, and then you can report bias incidents. We've also expanded this beyond just bias, and we've called it a student concern form. So any concerns that you might have related to identity, we've offered this form for students to make sure that we're just trying to be the best Bellarmine we can be for students. For LGBTQ plus students, again, we have a student group called Be United. So that's a student group for those who identify as LGBTQ plus and their allies. Again, we have that bias incident reporting system. And then we offer LGBTQ ally training. So for individuals on campus who might not know much about sexual orientation and gender, we have this ally training where they can learn more about sexual orientation and gender and become allies for for students who identify within the community. And then we have gender inclusive restrooms. So again, students who attend college are all across the gender spectrum. So gender inclusive restrooms are important to make sure that they feel welcomed on campus. And then finally, first generation college students. You often don't see student groups for first generation college students, but we have one, and it's called the Pioneer Scholars. It's a student group slash support system through our Student Success Initiative, and it's really a mentorship program that helps first generation students thrive at the university. So these students are paired with other first generation college students who already navigated their first or second year. And it's a really good program since about 30% of our um, college students identify as first generation college students at Bellarmine. With low income college students, it's really important to stay engaged with admissions counselors and financial aid, become their best friends. They know where all the dollars are, the dollars that have been spent, the dollars that haven't been spent. So don't be shy about reaching out to admissions because they could be the difference in you attending the college of your choice. Then with college students with disabilities, again, here we call it disability services. So we provide resources and accommodation information for nights living with a disability. Um, we have Students Beyond Barriers, which is a student group, and it supports nights living with a disability and their allies. And then again, sometimes institutions don't always get it right, so that bias and incident report is critical for this college population as well. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I just wanted to introduce you to some of the student groups, to some of the support services, to some of the departments. But we do so much more. Like we have our Student Success Center, which is our advising center. We have our campus ministry, which provides support there um, with religion. We have faculty and staff. We have athletics and sports groups. You name it, institutions have it. So really dig deep into um, what does my institution offer me beyond the classroom, where I can be um, the best person I can be and really succeed. So now I want you to think about your plan for success. So now, given what you know about D&I on college campuses, how will you plan for a successful transition to college? I want you to reflect on that question, and um, hopefully we'll have a few people talk about how they plan to move forward. And if I could go back, I'd say 13, 14 years ago, I was a first generation college student. So I really didn't know what I was doing during my uh, process. I really thank my school counselors because they provided a lot of guidance for me because my mother and my stepfather didn't attend college. So my mother, I would talk to my school counselor and they would encourage me to apply different places. And my mom would just leave checks on the step and make sacrifices for me to apply to those colleges. So if I would have known what I know now, I would have investigated college campuses to see what type of resources they had, to see what type of financial resources they had, and that would have really shifted the way I thought about my college selection process.
Dr. Mitchell, this is Dr. Benson. I have a question.
Yep.
First, thank you for all the resources that you've shared. And I too was a first generation college student. So that's why I thought this was a really good idea to have this session. My question for you is since you've shared so many resources, what are 2 or 3 things that a student who falls into one of the groups that you've described, what should they do once they enter the college campus to make sure that they are successful and get to graduation?
Yeah, so if I had to choose just a couple things, I do think student groups are essential to being engaged, to persist, and push towards graduation. So you're going to be nervous. It's going to be a different environment if you go away to college, but realize that everybody's nervous. This is a new experience for all college students. So I would really explore the website and make sure that you're learning about the different student organizations where you can be involved, because again, that engagement is critical. I don't want you to get over involved. Do as much as you can while still keeping your academics at the center. But you're just going to learn so much as you're involved in student organizations. I became a much better public speaker. I became a much better leader. I gained much more empathy by being involved in SGA, Student Government Association, by being involved in other student groups. So I would definitely say be involved. And then, as I noted, this wasn't on the slides, but faculty and staff are really critical to your success. So once you get into your major, once you get assigned your advisor, make sure that you're not hiding from them. Make sure that you really stay in touch with your advisors, your staff, and the faculty in your major, because they're going to make sure you succeed. So those are 2 things I will offer: faculty and staff engagement, and then also that student group engagement.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hi, Dr. Mitchell. Can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, I'm Kevin Fowler. I'm one of the counselors here, and thank you so much for your presentation. It's been great. I can't get my video on. I don't know. It says something about somebody not letting me, but that's okay. I'll just talk for a minute. You were talking, because I was going to ask you that very question. If you could go back, I'll say 8 years when you were a younger man, but you've already kind of answered that question. But what are you seeing now that you're an official at a university? What are you seeing in students who are very successful? What are they bringing to campus? What kind of person are they? What kind of character? And then I have a question about just Bellarmine itself in terms of academic supports, because if there was something that I needed 40 years ago almost, I needed academic supports, and I did not have that at the University of Kentucky. Now, that was many, many, many years ago, but I really knew nothing about playing school in college, and I was Mr. 2.7, 2.8 my first year of college. And I can tell you, students, don't judge or evaluate yourself by that first year of college, because you can certainly turn things around. So just if you could just kind of speak to 1 or 2 of those issues, Dr. Mitchell, greatly appreciate it.
Yep. And the good thing about what you're bringing to campus, so once you're accepted to a college, you get a fresh start, if you will. Some people carry over GPAs, but that's minimal. So you get a fresh start. So we're looking for students uh, who are going to be engaged in different ways. So providing advice to the administration, getting involved in those student groups, participating in some of our athletic events. We just want you to be engaged, and we want to support who you want to become. Um, People don't realize that many college students change their majors one, two, maybe three times. I was a chemistry major in undergraduate, but my junior year, I said, I want to be an educator. I thought I was going to medical school, but I wanted to be an educator. I found out that's my passion. So while I couldn't change my major, I did change my path. So that's common for students. So even if you change your path, we just want you to be engaged, and we want to support who you want to be, because those 4 or 5 or 6 years, but hopefully 4, that you spend on a college campus, it's just going to really transform you. So bring your full self uh, to a college campus, and then let us um, help you develop into your best self. So those are the thoughts I have about what you're bringing to campus and how we might assist in those ways. And then in terms of academic support, so there's a lot of mentorship groups that you'll see on college campuses that provide study halls or tutoring services. Um, with disability resources, that's critical. So if you learn differently, it's important to contact disability resources so they can help you learn the best way you can be. So you could get extended time on tests. You can have different types of books, maybe an ebook that reads the words to you rather than a traditional book. So if you learn differently, make sure you contact disability resources. And then with academic support, that's our Student Success Center. So there you get advising, you get tutoring, um, you do makeup tests. So that center really provides all the academic support um, that you need. And lastly, I'll just say it's okay to reach out to faculty members. If you're not understanding the concept, if you're not understanding um, what this assignment is about, faculty are there to assist you, to help you learn and grow in your major. So don't be hesitant to reach out to faculty as well, in addition to those services like tutoring, the testing center, and disability resources. So really good questions, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic answers. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell.
All right, we're getting to the close of our event this evening. We are so excited. If anyone has any other questions, we'll hang tight for about another minute or so. If you would like to post those questions on the question and answer document that is linked in the chat, or not in the chat, but in the description of this YouTube session.
And I know we were only together today for 45 minutes, but I put my email there intentionally. So if you do have any questions about today's presentation, if you have any questions about the Bellarmine specific initiatives that I've highlighted, I encourage you sincerely to please reach out. And I can also work with your school counselors as well if you have any questions beyond today. But thank you so much for having me here today. I hope today's sessions have been great, and it looks like you have some exciting sessions planned in the future as well. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yes, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate your time with us this evening, and all of your amazing resources, and as well as putting your email out there for additional questions if something does come up. I know if we do get any questions that might pop in at a later time, we will definitely get those to you, so you could answer those and help support the students in the initiative. So thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right, I think that is going to conclude our first live YouTube event for CollegeCon. We are so excited that you guys joined us tonight and that we were actually able to successfully pull this off without a major technology crash. So we will give all the credit to Mr. Fowler for tonight's event. But thank you guys so much for joining us, and
Sarcasm.
and we will be back on Thursday. So, just wait till the end and you'll get a little comic relief as well. So please come back and join us on Thursday. All of the information for the sessions are in the Google Classroom for all of the classes. So this isn't just a junior event. It is actually a 9 through 12 event. So please come back and join us. Let your friends know that we are here having fun and providing you with lots of amazing resources and information about the college process. So thanks, guys, and y'all have a great evening.